Welcome to Alaska EdVenture, hosted by Dr. Meinert, Superintendent of the Fairbanks North Starborough School District. This award-winning podcast is your gateway to the heart of Alaska's educational landscape. In each episode, we'll explore the unique perspectives of guests who are shaping education in the last frontier. Join us on Alaska EdVenture as we share the insights and inspirations found in Alaska's K-12 classrooms.
Welcome back to the Alaska EdVenture podcast. I'm Dr. Luke Meinert, Superintendent of the Fairbanks North Starborough School District. And today, I'm super excited to talk about a transition from Eielson High School to North Pole High School. For those of you that have been following the podcast for a while or are in district here in Fairbanks, last year we made the very difficult decision to close or consolidate Ben Eielson Junior High and Middle and High School. And those students moved to North Pole Middle and North Pole High. And so today I have some students and a teacher that worked through that transition, and just super excited to hear how that transition went, what were some of the challenges with it, and what it's looking like today. And so I'll pass it over to my left. I've got Mr. Liam Wade, and he'll introduce himself, and then we'll go around the table.
My name is Liam Wade. I am a junior at North Pole High School. I am the student body president of North Pole High School, as well as the chairman of Region 6 Student Council in the Interior.
And Liam's been on the podcast before, so you've been watching for a while. This is his second time, which is the only student that's been on for 2 times. So thanks for coming back, Liam.
All right, my name is Kendall Townsend. I am a senior at North Pole High School. Currently, I am involved in the North Pole High School orchestra. I am the senior class treasurer for North Pole Student Council, and earlier this year, I was a varsity cheerleader on the North Pole High School cheer squad.
Awesome, very active in the community and jumped right in. And so, Kieran, if you could introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Kieran Kauffman. I'm a music teacher at North Pole High School. I teach band and orchestra. Last year, I taught music, band, orchestra, and choir at Ben Eielson Senior High School. I grew up in Anchorage, and I went to college in Michigan before coming back to Fairbanks to teach.
And we're super excited to have Kieran on staff here in Fairbanks. He's creating an amazing band program out in the North Pole Eielson area. Recently started a marching band, which is rather unique in Alaska. And so super excited to see how that band program progresses. But let's hop into the transition when the school district was originally talking about the consolidation of Eielson to North Pole High. What was that feeling like, and what kinds of things did you go through in that process?
Well, I think for me, first of all, my brain immediately went into advocacy mode, because that was something we talked about a lot when I was in college, is here's how you can be an advocate for education. Here's how you can be an advocate for your school. So immediately, when the news came out that it was possible we would be closing, my brain didn't immediately go to the doom and gloom of oh no, this is the worst thing that could possibly happen. My first thought was, okay, I've got work to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. How about from a student perspective?
Okay, well, when I heard that the school was closing down, I think it was probably the worst day ever. I must have been cheering at a basketball game or something for Eielson, and my mom or dad pulled me aside, told me the news, told me about all the emails and stuff, and really that first initial shock, I actually cried for a few days, because I just didn't think that I could move on from this and become who I was gonna be, I was just very scared and lost.
And Liam, how about from a North Pole High student thinking about that transition and how that might impact the school that you attended?
One of the biggest factors that we mainly saw was a increased student population. And a lot of our kids, similar to how Kenai and Saldana are, they're very familiar with Eielson kids. There's already relationships there. So even though none of us really sat in class and were thinking, hey, this could really ever happen. Mm-hmm. When we found out that was going to happen, it was a whole new transitional period within our school where we thought, oh, wow, we have to accommodate, 200 more kids-ish, and build a fostering environment so when these kids do come, they're able to enter an environment where they feel welcome and they're not ostracized or put into a them kind of group.
Yeah. And Liam, I know you were really instrumental in some of the different things that you did to welcome students to Eielson. What did that look like? Welcome to North Pole High.
One of the immediate factors that we immediately went into and we kind of played around with was in the springtime, we would typically hold our student council elections. Mm-hmm. And we realized, okay, in the event that Eielson does close down, we have a new group of kids, a new audience who we are asking to listen to a representative that they did not elect. And so I pushed it forward that in the event that Eielson does become a chopping block, then we should push back elections until the fall. Mm-hmm. When we have Eielson representation, they can vote for the people, and even though it might be a population displacement, they still have a voice rather than none.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe our JROTC program here at North Pole High did something similar, and I know other student groups were delaying some of the decisions that they had in the spring that they would normally make until the fall, until that transition happened. Kieran, what about some of the did you participate in any of the transition activities that North Pole High hosted for either teachers or students last spring?
Yeah, so I was a chaperone for our student tours as we went to North Pole High School. So I last year taught a homeroom class of 8th graders, and my 8th grade class came down to North Pole High School to participate in, kind of a get-to-know-you tour and like see the school, meet the teachers, and basically find out what your new classroom experience is going to be like. And I thought it was a really awesome way for us to kind of get a feel for what the school looks like. And we kind of got to go through a kind of what looks like a typical day for a student, which was really cool. And when we were there, it was just really awesome because everyone was so incredibly welcoming, both the staff, especially because I had just found out that I was going to be a new teacher at North Pole. And so all the people, were so welcoming and grateful to see me. And there were student representatives there who did just such a wonderful job of, making the activities and clubs sound so enticing to our new incoming students, and it was just a wonderful experience overall.
Yeah, that's great. And Kendall, are there differences in the activities or clubs or different classes that are offered at North Pole High compared to Eielson?
Well, I'd say there's definitely a more variety of clubs and classes. Like, I would say we have a theater program at North Pole here, and I'm going to be a part of the pit orchestra. So
awesome.
We have a pit orchestra here, and we didn't have really any theater programs at Eielson. And I would say that, like, a lot of other differences were, like, definitely the class sizes. Like, I feel like there are a lot more people in, like, all of my classes, and there's a lot more people here in general. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really it.
Okay. And were you able to participate in any of the transition activities, and were any of those beneficial to you?
Well, I was able to participate in the Ignition Day.
Okay.
Mrs. Sandgren spoke to me, emailed me. I created the poster for it. I did a lot of outreach into the Eielson community to kind of like get it through to people that Ignition Day was going to happen and that it was a way for new students and Eielson students to like get to know the school better.
Awesome. Yeah. And for those that don't know, because we do have some listeners outside of the Fairbanks area, Eielson is an Air Force base here. And so new students come in and out of both Eielson and Fort Wainwright, PCSing on a regular basis. And so thank you for being that lead communicator and helping students, find their new footing and where where they might end up going to school. What you said you might play in the pit orchestra for an upcoming show. What kind of show is upcoming?
It's a musical. It's Cinderella, and I can't remember. It runs during the last 2 weeks of February, right?
Mm-hmm. Ooh,
yeah.
Awesome.
During the last 2 weeks of February, Cinderella, the musical, is running, and so we have a pit orchestra that's combined orchestra and band students at North Pole, and we're going to be playing in the pit. We're playing the music, or at least we're looking over the music right now. Yeah.
That's great. I know last year I brought my daughter out to Annie, and it was a fantastic musical. She was singing along with the songs and just loved it. And so I'll have to make sure I get my tickets for Cinderella. I hadn't heard what musical it was, but North Pole does a fantastic job with their musical theater out here. So excited to hear that you'll be a part of that.
Yeah.
Kieran, from your perspective, any differences in the music classes that you teach here compared to Eielson?
Yes, some huge differences. And I will say the biggest one is that I am free to teach a class of beginners and I'm free to teach a class of advanced students. That is both from an playing ability perspective and also from an age perspective. When I taught at Eielson, I had one band and one orchestra. And that band was for all grades 6 through 12, and that orchestra was for all grades 6 through 12. So I was teaching a class where in August, I had students who had never picked up a violin before, paired with students like Kendall, who had been playing for many, many years. And so balancing that, last year as somebody who was doing that and also teaching everything else, it was a lot of work. And so something that's been really awesome about my experience here so far is that I have 2 bands, I have 2 orchestras, and both of them are leveled. So I only teach high school students, and I teach a different class for beginners than for advanced students. So everybody feels like they're in a class that matches their level, and nobody feels bored or like they're in over their head with something that they've never done before.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thanks for describing that for us. And
yeah,
I bet that feels good to be able to teach on grade level. I can't imagine trying to teach band or orchestra 6th through 12th grade with all the differentiation that you would have to do. That seems incredibly
exactly.
hard.
Yeah, it was a lot. I spent a lot of time in class like, okay, we're switching between here's my topic of discussion for the beginners, here's my topic of discussion for advanced kids, and now I don't have to do that. I can just, teach.
Mm-hmm. And Kendall, what musical instrument do you play?
I play the violin.
Okay.
And I've been playing it since 2018.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So quite a while then. And do you plan to continue on? And I assume you're going to college, or what are your plans after high school?
I am gonna go to just a 4-year university. I'll major in communications, and then I want to be a journalist in the future.
Amazing. You could be sitting right here hosting this podcast then.
Yeah.
So
I think that this is actually a really good way to get me to be on TV, because I really want to be a broadcast journalist. So I think this is actually going to help me a lot.
Perfect. I love it. Well, we'll have to figure out some additional opportunities that maybe we can co-host some podcasts together. So I love that you're going into communications. Do you think you'll continue to play your violin then?
I might play it as a hobby, but not really as a professional.
Okay.
It's I'd still play it throughout college. Maybe find a local or non-audition orchestra.
Yeah.
It's not for professionals.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
It's a great lifelong hobby that you can have. Liam, let's think back to the first week of school, which feels like forever ago. We're recording this right before winter break. And so, but if you can think back to a warmer, brighter, sunnier time in terms of the weather, what was that first week like in terms of welcoming all of these new Eielson students and staff?
There was definitely a us versus them complex at first, where we're trying to integrate Eielson kids into North Pole friend groups. But I think with our amazing support from staff, our plethora of activities, extracurriculars, classes, we were easily able to integrate these kids.
Mm-hmm.
So even though the word Eielson kid is still thrown around to refer to some people, we're all North Pole Patriots under the same banner, the same mascot. We all go to the same games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that despite the challenges and despite what people said where they thought the entire year we were gonna Eielson kids would feel separated, I feel like we have integrated Eielson kids, and maybe Kendall can talk more on
Yeah, I'd love to hear Kendall's thoughts. And she has North Pole Patriots sweatshirt on, repping that proudly.
I think all kids, regardless of what school they were at last year, take pride in the Patriot name, even though it might not be a Raven anymore.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Kendall, what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like you've been fully integrated into the North Pole High School?
I feel like that because when I cheered, like that first game I went to, that's when I knew I was actually a North Pole Patriot. I was cheering on our team. I was cheering our mascot. I saw everybody cheering for me and cheering for the team, and as I was cheering for them and hoping that they would be happy about that. And I was just so excited and so happy, and I really felt like because of that, I got really integrated in North Pole.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think that's one of the big takeaways, I think, in my mind is anytime you're transitioning schools, whether it be middle to high school or throughout school consolidations, participating in extracurricular activities really helps that transition as well. If you connect, with new friend groups and new activities, there's just a different way that you connect with your school rather than just going to classes and then going home. So great job taking advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in that transition, is there anything different that you wish the school would have done? One of the things coming up is that we'll most likely have some additional school consolidations here this spring. It will more than likely be mostly elementary schools, but we're always interested in ways that we can do things better. And so are there things either from a staff perspective or a teacher's perspective that we should focus on for the next round of school consolidations?
Well, I really think that showing kids what activities you have really helps, because usually if you just go to school and not really do anything else like other activities, it might be a little bit boring and a little bit frustrating that you're not a part of those activities. And so I'd say like going to extracurriculars, joining sports, doing like yearbook or journalism, things like that could really help students see what potential their new school has, even if they're still a little bit sad that their old one closed.
That's great. Thank you.
From what I've heard from former Ben Eielson kids, a loss of culture was felt when they moved over to North Pole. And I think while inevitable to lose culture in a transition, there should be more effort put towards continuing and embracing both cultures rather than being fully assimilated into North Pole or any of the elementary schools that these schools are.
Yeah, that's interesting. Have you heard any examples or solutions of what might be a good way to continue on that culture of students that are moving from one school to another?
I can speak on that a little bit. So we have, the North Pole Band program right now, an orchestra program, is currently made up of a lot of students who were formerly Eielson kids. And when we were thinking about the closing last year, I wanted to make sure that the kind of legacy of the Eielson Band was kept up as much as possible, because we had been around the Eielson Band program for well over 60 years. There's music in my Eielson Band library from last year that was marked Eielson Territorial School from before we were even a state.
That's incredible.
So what I ended up doing is I took all of like the kind of like band pride materials, like the band banner and our trophies from like the Eielson Band trophies that they won, and old programs, and there's like a little space in our music room that has that Eielson stuff there. And I keep it there, and kids have asked me, well, like, why do you keep that there? Because that's Eielson stuff, and we're a North Pole band. And I'm like, well, yes, but we have students in this class who were once students of the Eielson Band program, and the Eielson Band program is now a part of our family tree. It's a part of our lineage, and so I want to keep that, and I want to keep like a little reminder of that, even if it's just a little like spot in the corner of our band room where we have trophies and a banner and things. So that's what I've been doing to kind of help keep that culture and tradition alive.
I think that's great. And I mean, even let's say 5-10 years down the road, and the students certainly won't be here. Hopefully, Kieran and I maybe will still be here, but we'll still be having Eielson students come to North Pole High, and so I think it's great to show that there once was a really strong band program on Eielson Air Force Base, and that there was a history there of a very successful school, and continuing to keep that alive. I guess this is a question for you, Liam. You've probably seen a difference. Has the influx of Eielson students strengthened programs, teams, activities?
Definitely. I'm going to take from my own personal experience with cross-country running. For the past 6-7 years, we've had a cross-country running team under 20, maybe 15 max. This year we had 43 kids.
Oh, wow.
As a influx of Eielson kids. And I know programs like our volleyball team was huge. 60 girls, I believe, trying out for a volleyball team, JV varsity. And I think the influx of Eielson kids has brought a different culture to North Pole that we did not have prior. And it's been such a positive influence, either be it filling classes or filling up clubs, giving more intellectual property to our school that we did not previously have. But now that we have the Eielson kids, we are so blessed to have them.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Kendall, are there any courses here that you're taking this year that might not have been available at North Pole High if you would have stayed there for your senior year? I don't know if you're in, I had heard that there were quite a few more AP classes available at North Pole High. There's more CTE opportunities. And then certainly with the band and orchestra programs, there's some different opportunities as well.
I would say one of the classes that I didn't think I would be able to take at Eielson if I stayed there was Holocaust Split. It's actually really interesting. I love my teacher. I love my class. And it's just a really interesting insight onto the Holocaust. And right now we're currently reading a choice book of ours. And it's just a chapter book really. But it provides so much insight into that topic, even if it's a really deep topic. And it's just, I feel like a lot of the teachers here cover their materials like really well, and they're all very passionate and positive about teaching.
That's great. Yeah. So some additional elective courses, even within our core academics, which is excellent. So I want to shift our attention to students. So if students are going through a transition because of school consolidations, what's a tip or two that you would give them as they might enter this phase?
A tip that I would give students who are coming from a consolidated school is get involved. Make sure you join those clubs, join those activities, because you never know who you're going to meet. You never know who you're going to be best friends with, and you never know what your experience would be like if you didn't join that club or activity.
Excellent. Liam, how about you?
A tip from somebody who was consolidated with.
Yeah.
We often think of kids as kind of isolationists, like sticking in their own groups. But from what I've seen, especially with Eielson, it's really strengthened my view of kids want to have new friends. Like kids want new faces, and they want to be around people with different ideas or similar ideas and be able to bond. Because especially in North Pole, a lot of these kids I've grown up with. I've been in the same class with them since kindergarten. So, and with people PCSing into the North Pole community, we constantly have a new face every year or month or so. So I think when we shifted over the Eielson kids were excited to be engaged with others. And I think that's something that we should prioritize as a transitioning school or a transitioning district.
I love that. It makes me think too, as Eielson students transition in and out, our North Pole High and North Pole Middle students now might have some lifelong friends that live across the country or across the world that they may have never had before. And so it really strengthens that unity across the world, and they might go explore new places to visit a friend, which I think is pretty cool. Kieran, what's coming up next for North Pole High or North Pole High band?
Well, North Pole High music is strong as it's ever been, and we've got some pretty big things planned. So in February, as Kendall mentioned, I will be directing the pit orchestra for our musical Cinderella, which is going to be really awesome. We're playing every single note that you hear in the score. There's not a single bit of recorded music, which is pretty awesome.
That's impressive.
Next fall, our marching band is going from just being a parade band to actually being a field marching band. We're going to be doing a full field show complete with some awesome science fiction music. I think it's going to be a really awesome time. And we're starting a band exchange. The West Anchorage High School band is going to be coming up to North Pole to do a joint concert with us. And in 2026, we're planning on traveling down to Anchorage to visit them. And I think it's going to be a really awesome opportunity for our students to get to meet other students that are just as passionate about music as they are. And then, next year we'll get to go down and show them how we do band, and it'll be an awesome experience for them.
I love that.
Yeah.
So West Anchorage, is that
Yep.
who we're doing the exchange with? Do they do any kind of marching or field
They
work?
don't.
Okay.
They don't right now. West Anchorage High School doesn't have a marching band, but we are going to do a joint joint classical style concert with them on our stage at Oring Auditorium.
Very cool. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
And I love that you're making those connections between Anchorage. I think that's just such a great thing to expose Anchorage students to what we have available here in Fairbanks and North Pole. And then 2026, it sounds like we'll be headed down that way, and hopefully some joint concerts happening there. And man, maybe expose them to the marching band. I think super exciting. Offline, we were talking about what was coming up next, and I grew up in the Midwest, and so marching band is a super big deal down there, and was something I missed when I moved up to Alaska. And so to be able to see that available right here in Fairbanks and North Pole is super cool. So thanks for bringing that to us.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, I do want to bring this to an end, but I want to talk a little bit about what's up next. So Kendall talked a little bit about what her plans are upon graduation. How about Liam for the next year or two? And then after graduation, what are you thinking?
For the next year or two, I will be managing a grant under Senator Murkowski for a hydroponic facility out here at North Pole. So providing produce for our nutrition services and our community. After high school, I hope to go into production in agriculture and become a farmer in the interior.
That's amazing. I love that. How, with the hydroponics, how much food do you think you'll be able to grow for the nutrition services program here?
From what we've been told, they require about 60 pounds, 15 pounds of produce per week. And we think we are able to supplement that up to 50%.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, that'd be a great start to your agricultural career and a good thing to put on your resume. So that's great. How about any parting thoughts? Is there anything that we didn't cover today that you want to talk about in terms of the transition from Eielson to North Pole High, or just any of the great things that are happening out in Patriot Country?
I think even though we are closing down schools, which is a negative outcome, we come up with a positive product.
Mm-hmm.
In the end, even though one culture is lost, another culture is gained.
Love that. Any parting thoughts from you, Kendall?
Not really.
No, okay, that's cool. Well, you said a lot, and
Yeah,
you did
I
a
did.
great job today. Very impressed with your first time on the podcast, and I want to figure out a way that maybe we can co-host something together, or you could be a guest podcast host to jumpstart your communications career. Kieran, anything from you?
I'd just like to offer a huge thank you to the entire North Pole community for being just so amazing and welcoming to me as, you know, a new teacher at the school and only my second year of teaching, period. And, you know, both my staff community and the community at large has been just so insanely welcoming and so thankful to have music at school, which is just an awesome thing. So I'd like to offer my thanks to the North Pole community for their welcome to me as a new teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll extend the moment of gratitude. Thank you to North Pole High students for being so welcoming, Eielson students for working through that transition, and then all of our families and community that have worked through this. I know it's a really difficult season for Fairbanks North Star Borough School District. When Kieran was talking about advocacy efforts earlier on in the podcast, a lot of these consolidations and transitions and the cuts that we're having to make is due to inadequate funding for education in Alaska. And so, if you're so inclined, I would say reach out to your legislators, reach out to your borough assembly members, and talk about what these impacts are on your family and the education you want to see for our students in our community, because our students truly are the future of Alaska. And if we don't invest in our students, our future isn't going to be as bright as it should be. And so please go out and advocate if you want to see better things to come from our school district and school districts across Alaska. So, well, thank you so much for your willingness to join the podcast today. I love the conversations with students and teachers and hearing about the amazing things happening in our schools. continue to follow us on all of the social media channels and continue to listen. We've got some great episodes coming up, and I just thank everybody for continuing their support of this podcast. So we'll catch you next time. Thank you.